Hey, friend. Welcome back to Redefining Her Game. First, let me just say how glad I am that you're here. Really. I mean, you could be anywhere, scrolling on Instagram, listening to a true crime podcast, yelling at your kids for not picking up their shoes for the millionth time. But instead, you press play on this. And that means you're giving yourself a pause already, even if you didn't realize it. Now, let me ask you. Does your life feel like one long rush? Like we're sprinting from the moment our feet hit the floor in the morning until our heads finally hit the pillow at night? And even then, our brains are like, cool, let's keep running. Like, let's go over tomorrow's list. Let's worry about that email. Let's replay the awkward conversation from 6 years ago. Even let's create something that could possibly go wrong tomorrow or next week. Or maybe that's just my brain on the last one. But I know that feeling all too well. We live in a world that seems to glorify how busy we are. Like, hustle is a badge of honor. And people ask, how are you? And half the time we answer busy, as if that's a personality trait. Like, if we're not exhausted, we're doing something wrong. But here's what I've learned through years of busyness. Busy doesn't equal fulfilled. Busy doesn't equal joy. And busy definitely doesn't equal connection, that's for sure. In connection, that's the word I really want to sit with today. Connection with each other, with ourselves, even with the moment we're living in. Because if I'm honest, that feels like the piece we're losing the fastest. It feels as if it's almost gone. Like, think about it. When was the last time you had a conversation without checking your phone? Or ate a meal without rushing? Or walked into a room and didn't immediately think about what's next? Those simple human connections, eye contact, deep conversations, even just really noticing someone, like they seem to be becoming rare and we're starving for them. That's why today we're talking about the pause. Because the pause, the intentional act of slowing down, isn't wasted time. It's where joy sneaks in. It's where connection happens. So that's where we're going. Why slowing down changes everything. Why the pause matters and how it can bring more joy, more peace, and more connection, both to the people around us and ourselves. So grab your coffee or maybe your sneakers if you're out on a walk, and let's dive in together. Okay, so we're going to start simple. The pause helps us notice joy. And not just joy, but connection. So when we rush, like we miss it. Think about your mornings, right? You're rushing out the door, coffee in one hand, bag in another, yelling, "Did anyone feed the dog?" You're not noticing the smell of that coffee or how your kid's hair is sticking up in the back in that adorable way or how your partner smiled at you before you ran out the door. Are you rushing kids out the door? Shouting things like, "Do you have your homework? Grab your water bottle. What about your shoes?" Like, by the time you get to where you're going, we're frazzled. And if we're honest, like, we didn't actually see the kids that morning. Like, we managed them. Now, picture this. What if we paused, even for one moment? What if instead of rushing, we looked at our teen in the eye and said, "Hey, I hope today is a good day for you." Or we took 5 extra seconds and hugged them one more time before they ran out the door. Like, that's connection. And sometimes those small moments stick with them longer than the big speeches. It's the same with young adults. They're busy, glued to their phones, often in their own world. But if you pause and notice, you might see the expression on their face when they come in the door, or the tone in their voice when they say, I'm fine. Pausing helps us realize when fine doesn't mean fine. And that's when connection can happen. Even with our spouse, slowing down can be powerful, right? How many times do we talk logistics? Who's picking up the kids? Did you pay the bill? What are we doing for dinner? But forget to connect. The pause could be as simple as putting your phone down when they walk into the room or touching their arm when you ask how their day really was. This is where the pause matters. The pause says, I'm here and I'm noticing. And here's what's funny. Sometimes the joy we notice in the pause is tiny, even silly, like the way your dog sighs when they flop onto the floor, or how your neighbor waves with way too much enthusiasm, or even the satisfaction of folding a towel perfectly. I mean, that could just be me too. But those little things add up. Like, they remind us that life is happening in real time, not on our calendars, not in the future, not when everything is perfect, but like right now. So here's my challenge to you. Try a 2-minute noticing break today. Just stop. Look around. Who's near you? What are they saying? What do you see, hear, and smell? It sounds simple, but it can be really life changing. Because when you slow down, you don't just notice joy, you notice people. And that's the connection. So let's really talk about people. Because if we want real connection, not just quick texts and half listened conversations, we have to pause. Let's be real. Most of us are in half their conversations. Like, we're listening, but we're also scrolling. We're nodding, but we're already planning dinner. And then we wonder why our relationships sometimes feel shallow. Connection requires the pause. Think about your last conversation. Were you really there? Or were you nodding while secretly planning dinner in your head? Did you glance at your phone mid-story? Did you cut someone off because you were in a hurry? We've all done it. I've done it. But let's be honest. That's not connection. That's just checking the damn box. The pause changes everything. The pause in a conversation says, I hear you, I see you, and I'm not rushing you. Imagine talking to your spouse instead of half listening while cooking dinner. You stopped chopping the vegetables for just a minute, turned toward them and said, tell me more about that. That one pause right there changes everything. It tells them you matter. And I want to hear you. With teens, like young adults, it's even more important. They know when we're distracted. They know when we're brushing them off. Pausing with them might look like sitting on the couch when they come home and just being quiet until they talk, or asking, how was practice? And then actually letting them answer without cutting them off. Like, teens open up on their own time. Sometimes connection happens at midnight when you're exhausted, and the only way to catch it is to pause your own agenda and be present. And then let's think about like our friendships. When a friend says, I'm fine, the pause gives you the courage to ask, are you really? That's where real connection begins. Imagine how relationships would shift if you practice this. Imagine your partner sharing something, and instead of jumping in with advice, you just paused. You let the silence stretch. You listened, not to respond, but to understand. Imagine your child telling a winding, never ending story. And instead of rushing them, you leaned in and let them finish. Imagine your friend texting, "I'm fine." Instead of moving on, you paused and asked, "But are you really?" That's intentional connection. And it only happens when we're willing to pause. So here's a question for all of us. Who in our life needs us to pause for them this week? Who needs you to put down the phone, the spoon, stop folding the laundry, and just be with them, even for 5 minutes? Because connection doesn't live in the rush. It literally lives in the pause. The pause isn't just about others, too. It's about us. When was the last time you asked yourself, how am I really doing? Not, did I finish my list? But how is my heart? We keep moving because we're afraid of the answer. And if we pause, maybe the feelings we've been avoiding might catch up. So we fill the silence with noise, with busyness, with scrolling. But friend, ignoring ourselves doesn't protect us. It disconnects us. And the pause is where we reconnect with ourselves. The pause is how we come back to ourselves. It might look like journaling a sentence or two, anywhere, or sitting in the car before walking into the house and asking yourself, what do I need right now? It might look like taking a short walk without earbuds, just you and your thoughts. And it matters because if we don't pause with ourselves, we lose touch with who we are outside of being a mom, a wife, a friend, a coworker. We lose sight of our own joy. And here's the thing, like our kids and our spouse notice when we're disconnected from ourselves. Teens especially can sense when you're on edge, and they mirror it. If you never pause to refill your cup, you're teaching them that life is all hustle and no pause, no space for just resetting and enjoyment. And that's not the legacy that I want to pass down. Because the truth, like, we can't connect with others deeply if we're completely disconnected from ourselves. So here's my gentle challenge. Give yourself a pause today, even 2 minutes. Check in, ask yourself what you need, because reconnecting with yourself helps you show up better for everyone else. Think about that. The pause doesn't just change us, right? It changes everyone around us. Like, have you ever been around someone who was calm, unhurried, present? Didn't it make you feel calmer too? I mean, we talked about this before, but that's the ripple effect. When we pause, we model something different. Our kids see it, our partners feel it, our friends notice, even strangers can sense it. So if you put your phone down at dinner, others are more likely to follow. If you take a breath instead of snapping, whole mood shifts. If we slow down and actually greet the cashier instead of rushing, you've created a micro connection in their day too. That ripple spreads further than we realize. I like to think of music, right? So in a song, it's the pauses that give the notes meaning. Without silence, it's just noise. And our lives are the same. Without pauses, it's just chaos. But with them, like there's rhythm and depth and beauty. So let's think about this. What kind of ripple are we creating? When people around you Do they feel rushed, distracted, like they don't matter? Or do they feel seen, heard, and settled because you chose to pause? And by no way, I mean, we're not going to be perfect at this every day, all day, right? But the least we can do is start to recognize that we just need to pause. All right, friend. So let's get practical, right? Because it's one thing to nod along and think, yes, I need to slow down, and another to actually do it. So here are some real life ways to practice pausing, right? So in conversations, let's try letting silence stretch just a little longer before we respond, or take a breath before speaking. Notice how it changes the vibe. Let our teen finish the whole story before you respond, even if it takes forever. Let your spouse vent without jumping in with solutions. Like, just listen. I mean, I feel like I'm wired as a fixer, so that is hard because we don't want someone to feel alone. We don't want them, like, we want to help them fix it so that they feel better. But just pause. What about like in transitions between things that we're running around doing all day? Before walking into the house, sit in the car for 30 seconds. Before your next meeting, close your eyes and breathe once. These tiny pauses can reset our brain. We can go into these meetings and these next conversations with pure intention. So, like in the morning, instead of grabbing your phone first thing, look out the window. Notice the light, the quiet, the beginning of the day. Like, the morning is my favorite time of day. Instead of grabbing your phone, look at your spouse and say good morning. Like, look at your child and tell them you love them before the day sweeps everyone away. At night, like before bed, we can ask ourselves, where did I notice joy and connection today? It's such a gentle way to end the day. And then when we're overwhelmed or there's chaos, when we feel the tension building, stop. Try putting your hand on your chest. Take 3 slow breaths. That's your nervous system saying thank you. It's not magic, but it shifts the energy. And then try building some margin into your day, right? So leave 10 extra minutes in your schedule. Stop filling every blank space with commitments. Give life room to breathe. And here's the key. The pause doesn't have to be long. It doesn't have to be perfect. Even 30 seconds can shift everything. And these practices aren't complicated, but they are powerful. They say to your family, your friends, your spouse, your kids, you matter enough to me to stop. So here's kind of the challenge that we're going to do this week together. We're going to pick one, just one, and see what changes. And then we'll add another. So here's what I hope you carry with you from today. The pause isn't wasted. The pause isn't lazy. The pause isn't something you have to earn. The pause is where joy hides. The pause is where connection is built. The pause is where we come back to ourselves and each other. You don't need the perfect season or the perfect schedule to practice it. You can pause right now in the middle of your messy, busy, beautiful life. So this week, try just one pause. Take 3 breaths before you answer your phone. Put down your fork and look someone you love in the eye. Just sit for 2 minutes without a screen. Notice what shifts. Notice what joy sneaks in. Notice what connection becomes possible. Just notice. If this episode encouraged you, share it with someone who needs a reminder that it's okay to slow down. Let's make the pause contagious. And if you're new here, welcome. Subscribe on YouTube or follow wherever you listen so we can keep having these conversations week after week. All right, that's it for today, my friends. Keep breathing, keep pausing, keep noticing the beauty, the joy, and the connection that only show up when you slow down. And I'll see you next time.